Good afternoon, Success Academy Union Square, second through fourth grade scholars. Back to you with another video. So excited to be here with you. As we are winding down throughout the school year, just a reminder that if you are in second and third grade and would like a chess kit account, I could create one for you. Unfortunately, for fourth graders, as we graduate, I need to take them back as I need to give them to new and incoming um, kids in our school. But as you're graduating, if you are in fourth grade, I again recommend that you download Lee Chess. And you can add me as a friend, Storm X Phoenix. And I'm happy to play with your scholars and just help them stay and keep a love for chess. So today I'm going to talk about another checkmate pattern called Philidors Legacy. Now, growing up, I've never really called it this. I learned about a lot of checkmate patterns, but to be honest, I got to about 1800 and never knew the name of a lot of these patterns. I was just taught how to do them, how to execute them, and to remember them, remember the memory of the pattern, the steps of the pattern, and then I just did them in my chess game. So the name of the motif is not always important, but um, it's Philidor's legacy. So let's get right into it. So right now, what do we notice about this black king? Yeah, the black king's in check by this queen on d5. So the white queen has just moved to d5, checking the king. There are only three ways for black to escape. Okay, there's three options here. Rook d6, it just delays a checkmate,
Check.
which will eventually happen um, either here or on king h8. We can go checkmate.
Check.
Or if they move to f8, we have a checkmate
Check.
here on f7. Okay, so rook d6 is not the best option. Okay, now if king h8, it is white to play, and white can make a very interesting move here. Okay, what we want to do is use the power of our queen and our knight to kind of smother this king in. We're gonna find a way to force this rook to come to the g8 square, and then we're going to zap the king and create a nice, interesting checkmate. However, first, after king f8, pardon me. So after king f8, okay, again, there's a simple checkmate and win here. Can anyone find it? Yeah, I think it's the same idea. Once the queen goes to f7,
Check.
this is checkmate. The knight protects the queen as the helper piece. And of course, the queen controls these two very important squares of e7 and g8. And the rook is on e8, so the king can't run away. Now, let's talk about the square h8. Now, if the king runs away to h8, my question to you is always to look for forcing moves. Forcing moves are checks, captures, threats, and sacrifices. But sacrifices are something we touch on when you really, really understand and grasp the game. But sacrifices are very important. So here we want to make another forcing move. We want to make another check. How could we find another check to force this king to move again? Now, Queen
Check.
g8 is too premature. That means it's too soon. The rook could capture, and then we have a nice move of
Check.
knight f7 checkmate, but it's not forced, right? Because capturing with the rook is not the only option. The king could capture, and then now you're going to lose this game. So we want to force this king to move again with another different kind of check. Do you see any more checks on the board? Yeah, knight f7
Check.
check. And now this forces the king to move back to g8. And now we have this cool idea of a double check. Those double checks are so important because we spoke about it in the previous video. With a double check, which piece is forced to move? Absolutely correct, the king. So now we have a chance to make a double check on this king. Can anyone find it? Yep. Once this knight goes to h6,
Check.
both the queen and the knight are checking this king. No, we cannot capture the knight. No, we cannot block the queen's check or run away. Or block the king's check. So we're going to have to run away. Again, the idea of f8 gives us the still mating square
Check.
of queen f7. However, if the king moves over to h8, now we need another check. We could go back to knight f7, but then we're just going to have a repetition and go back and forth, and that's not what we want. So now we need to sacrifice some material to force black pieces to smother this king in. Give this king no squares to breathe. If you came up with the move queen g8, you're
Check.
absolutely correct. Because without this rook, this is a checkmate. So the rook is forced to capture the queen. And now, can anybody find checkmate in one move? Absolutely correct. Now knight f7
Check.
will get you a checkmate. Let's take a look at another example here. So now, again, it is white to move. This is kind of a similar position, same position, but just breaking it down a little bit more for you. So now we need an instant check here. Uh-oh. Let's move this rook over. Oops. Let's move this rook over because messed up a bit. But then now, after knight f7 check, the pattern still works the same. King g8, and now you have to look for that cool double check. Knight h6, and now the knight and queen is checking. Again, if queen f8, we have checkmate. And if the king goes to the corner, we have this nice forcing move to bring this rook and make a checkmate. The attack on the queen does not matter right now because white will have a free tempo, meaning a free move, a forcing move after forcing the king to run with a double check. Again, step one, you must find that double check and take advantage. I agree, knight h6 is a double check. Check two ways. After we find this double check, we need to remember the Smothers mate pattern. Again, king f7, king f8, we have queen f7, that's mate. Again, our queen is in danger, but that does not matter if I can make a check. You cannot capture this queen because the knight will still be checking the king. So once the king moves over, the queen sacrifice of g8, smothering yourself in, and knight f7 will give you checkmate. Let's take a look at another example. It looks like black is in trouble in this position. The knight on e4 is pinned. If you have a sibling, we went over pins today in my K1 video. And a strong queen battery, bishop and queen battery. So look at this sneaky bishop with this queen threatening all types of ideas on this G1 square. Okay. For black, you can win in two moves. You have to recognize what pieces are needed for this Smothers checkmate, this Smothers mate. Remember, we need that knight and we need that nice big bad queen. If you were able to see that and take your time with the move, you will find that queen g1 is the move. Queen g1 would be checkmate if these two rooks were not on the back rank. Now we sacrificed our queen, and once this rook is forced to take, the king cannot capture because the bishop is helping. The bishop will put the king in check, so the king cannot capture. Once the rook captures on g1, can anybody find a nice checkmate that smothers the king in, and the king will have no squares around him? Absolutely correct. Don't pick knight g3 because the pawn can capture, but knight f2 would lead to a checkmate, and the king cannot escape. If black can keep the f7 square covered, then black can force a checkmate, can force a draw by 3-move repetition. However, white wants to play knight h6 double check, king h8, and then he wants to play queen g8 to trigger the Smothers checkmate. White double checked and made the move queen g8. Was this a good move? Why or why not? Yeah, so if we can keep this square covered, I think we can probably avoid what's going to happen. However, after the move, knight h6 double check, king goes to h8, knight f7, check, check, right? This is going to get us perpetual. After I did this the third time, this will be a draw, right? But we go back after king h8, knight f7, knight h6, king back. And now we have this ultra interesting move. Queen g8 check. Now, the king cannot take because without this rook here, without certain pieces here, this would be a checkmate. If the rook captures, we have our usual knight f7. But my question to you, what happens if knight captures here on f7? Right. The knight takes. And there's no more checks because the rook guards f7. Because this rook guards f7, there's no Smothers checkmate. That said, it is in your best interest in this position to realize that the knight also guards this square and the rook guards f7. So I think you just want to settle for the draw here and perpetual check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even materials even, you probably could play out a little more. The problem is your knight is trapped. There's no way to get this knight out effectively. Check here, maybe here, but then you have this fork, and you're going to lose a piece. So if you can see ahead and calculate that far ahead, it's probably in your best interest to go for the draw. Let's see what the computer says here. Yep, knight h6, king over.
Check.
Perpetual. Because again, if king here and you run back, oh, you're just going to lose your queen. Mr. Manson was so silly. Knight takes here and you lose the game. Game over. So you have to keep those double checks going. Let's take a look at one more example for today. And, oops, should have turned off the engine, but you've seen that clever move. So, only the bishop on g6 is stopping a Smothers mate with knight f7. So this is kind of how we have to kind of remove the guard and remove whatever piece is defending the checkmating square. There's only one way to accomplish this. We have to sacrifice the queen. This bishop is overworked. It is defending the f7 square. It's also defending the h7 mating square. So, after check, and we take, the king cannot capture, the knight protects. The bishop must capture the queen. And then we have probably one of the coolest checkmates I've ever seen, because not only is knight f7 checkmate, but what kind of tactic did you create? Yeah, you created a fork with the king and queen. So even if this king magically could have gotten out, you could have won your queen back. But the point is that queen takes h7, bishop takes. This bishop is overworked. It had to take the duty of stopping the initial check. And now knight f7 is a Smothers mate. Try this position as a test. It is white to move. How would you proceed in this game? I agree, same thing. I did not get to trick you. The queen is doing the same exact job that the bishop was doing in the previous position. It is guarding the mating square on f7 and the potential mating square on h7. Queen takes h7 check. The queen must take, because if king takes, the knight would be in check. Queen takes. And then we have this nice Smothers mate here. So, in conclusion, you want to remember that the queen and knight are very essential in this Philidors legacy checkmating pattern. Remember, you can go back and pause your videos, rewind the videos if you need to fully pick up the concept. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And again, if you are in second and third grade, your parents can reach out. I can make you a Chess Kid account. For now, be safe, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.